Welcome to this interview with EARTHROCKER at Boomerang Festival. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, man. Yes, busy, but enjoying it.
It's great having you. You've set up all this sound. You've done so much work here. You've been preparing for months. It's turned out great. How are you feeling like seeing it all in motion?
It was a big puzzle in the beginning, but like you see a mountain in front of you, and then eventually you start piecing it together, and yes, everything falls into place eventually when you do the right work, I guess.
I heard you playing before as EARTHROCKER. Like I walked in, I was like, wow. It was wonderful. The vibe of the music. Have you always been in reggae? Did you have a thing before, or was it reggae?
So we've always been into electronic music as a collective, me and my mates from bass culture. Um, Me personally, I always turn to reggae in my like down tempo. So if I'd go to a techno party, then after, a night out listening to techno, I would turn to reggae. And I think the music we play now is like in the middle of, in between reggae and, electronic music. So it's got the driving force and the bass lines that make you dance and like want to party and jump around, but it also has the Caribbean skank of of reggae, basically.
It's got that energy. You've like added a bit of energy that I think
Yeah.
makes good for a party setting. So bass culture has been going for over 10 years now, right?
Yes, it's the 11th year this year, pretty much. Yeah. We started in 2013.
And you were there when it started, right? Could we hear a little about that
So,
in short?
in short, my mates Miguel and Keith, who are who's Elisa Yabadab and Dab Daboon, they started bass culture as a promotion to promote dub music in Malta because it was something that wasn't existing over here as a promotion. There was people who were into that sort of music, but no one was doing any events based on that music. Um, and they asked me to play in their first event, pretty much, because I was living in the UK back then, and I was exposed to the sound system scene in the UK through events like Abashanti's University of Dub, for example, in London. And yeah, that's how it started, pretty much. So they asked me to play, and then eventually we started doing more and more events, and I joined them as part of the bass culture crew.
I'm curious, like for you as an individual and an artist, like you said you lived like some time abroad. The learning and being exposed to elements abroad, like what's your thoughts on this? Do you think it was quite impactful?
Uh, yes, indeed. So it's a funny story. A friend of mine, Mark Bennett, who's of Jamaican heritage, we used to work together, and he said you need to come to a dance. They call it, University of Dub with Abashanti actually it was, and yeah, because he knew I was a sound guy. I've been a sound guy for the last 20 years, and he said you haven't heard bass until you go to a reggae sound system. And I was like, come on, man, yeah, don't overdo it. And I took his word and I went and I was blown away. So yeah, the amount of bass that makes you vibrate with the rest of the crowd and everyone's like in tune together. The positive messages that reggae and dub music carry, of unity, peace, love. It was like a pivoting moment, I guess, in my life, and I said, I want to do that. And then I met with Miguel and Keith when I came back to Malta, and they were also on their own journey to discover dub music, and we kind of united to create bass culture, pretty much.
When you mention sound, because you say it as sound, not music, so I wonder were you working in other forms of sound or in these 20 years of sound? Like how did your entry to sound look like?
Ooh, so I started doing mostly AV, like audiovisual stuff for like corporate events and stuff like that. But I used to do like pub gigs and small bands and stuff like that here and there. So I've always liked music. I was like hi-fi at home, thanks to my dad and his dad, my grandfather. They were always into hi-fi. So at a very young age, I was messing around with EQs and stuff like that. I think the first time I played around with an EQ was like when I was 6. Like what does this do? What does this do? Messing around with frequencies. So I always got into sound. From my mother's side, they're all musicians, so I always got into music from there. So that kind of the combo started at home. Like from my mother's side, it was always music. My dad's side was like hi-fi, so sound. And then Yeah, when I was 20, I started working in sound as an AV technician, and then after a couple of years, I went to Sydney, Australia, to do study at S.A.E. I did my diploma in sound engineering. Spent a couple of years there. Came back to Malta for a couple of months. Then went to London, and that's where I got exposed to the reggae scene, Notting Hill Carnival. All the sound system culture there. Channel One, Abishanti, Jashaka. All the big legends. Yeah.
Dude, that's amazing. Like your entire life is like learning and doing this. Like, I know your voice is a bit hurt, and I don't want to
Yes.
keep you too long. So I'd say
I need to get back on the MC.
we'll leave it here, man. But
All right,
thank
respect,
you
man.
actually so much. Like EARTHROCKER, bass culture.
Yeah, man.
Any closing remarks?
Not much, man. Yeah, it's been a pleasure to have a chat about it. I'm happy that people show interest in it. The scene is always growing. In Malta, people like what we do. So hopefully we can carry on for another 10 years.
Thank you, man, and bye bye.